We were told that a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't. And we call that lying on the farm. But they called it PR.
Picture this. You're in your kitchen, eyeing that bottle of oil, olive, coconut, whatever. You think it's just oil, right? But what if it held the secret to sharper focus, better energy, and a calmer mind? That's where today's guest comes in. Today, we're joined by Udo Erasmus, the pioneer who flipped the script on fats and made us rethink what's on our plate. Udo's not your average health guru. He brought flax oil into the spotlight, sparking a revolution in how we see fats, not as the enemy, but as wellness heroes. Udo's sharing why a tiny tweak, like swapping one oil for another, can transform your energy, mood, and even your kids' focus at school. This isn't about complicated diets or overhauling your life. Expect eye-opening tips, a few surprises, and hacks you'll wish you knew sooner. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, Udo. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me this afternoon.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on. I love doing this.
I know. I'm excited. Like, I went down the rabbit hole of everything you've done. It's quite remarkable. Starting at the beginning, what sort of inspired you to begin this work in health and wellness? You know, obviously healthy fats and oils, but just what brought you into this world to begin with?
The short answer is I got poisoned by pesticides, and the doctors, when I asked them, what do you have for pesticide poisoning? The doctor said nothing. So that's the short answer. But I got primed for all of this stuff. I was born during the Second World War. I'll be 83 in May. Born in the Second World War in Poland, which was then part of Germany. And we were refugees when I was 2.5 years old in winter of 1945. And we were on horse-drawn hay wagons, racing away from farms, mothers with young children, dirt roads, no military presence, and the communists were chasing us in tanks and trucks. And the Allies, which we like to think of as the good guys, because, you know, not me then, but we now, you know, the Allies are the good guys, right? Well, they were using us refugees, women and young children on horse-drawn hay wagons on these dirt roads, as target practice, shooting at us from planes. So we got to get the commies from one end and the Allies from the other end. We were in the middle, and nobody gave a shit about us, right?
Oh my gosh.
So my mother decided to get off the roads. And so she had 6 kids with her. She had to leave 4 of them behind. Talk about a Sophie's choice, right?
It's so literal. Yeah.
And so she went through the fields. And I was one of the ones left behind. I ended up in an orphanage for a while. And eventually her sister came back behind enemy lines, found us, and reunited us with the family. And I don't remember that much, but I remember never feeling safe. So I was always like this, very shy, didn't know what I could trust. And I was always, as a kid, trying to figure out how things worked, like born scientist, right? Because when you know how things work, then that gets you predictability, and that gets you security. So I was very insecure. And for a reason why is because every day a story was different in the chaos of war, right? And so then they said, you know, don't poop your pants. And then the next day they tell you, poop your pants. We don't have time to stop, right? So it's like crazy stuff, like really basic stuff, right? And then when I was 6 years old, we were in Germany, and I listened to adults argue about things that seemed trivial to me as a 6-year-old. And it was always really intense. And of course, it scared me because I was a little kid, right? And one day when I heard another one of these arguments, you know, this thought came. It was like, man, there must be a way that people can live in harmony. And this little cocky voice of a 6-year-old who doesn't know how complicated everything is, says, I'm going to find out how. And that's been my driver all my life. And the idea is that we got 8 billion people on the planet. We could all be living incredibly beautiful lives. High quality, high quality lives. And hardly anybody does. And why is that? That's how stupid we are. That's how much we ignore what we should be paying attention to. and biohacking is just one of the arenas where we can improve quality of life, right? My view is that people like Buddha or Krishna or maybe Christ or maybe Socrates, they talked about human nature. What is Socrates' deal? What is it? Know thyself. Know yourself. Well, how are you going to know yourself unless you actually sit down, cut out all of your distractions, and spend time by yourself, with yourself, focusing in the space your body occupies and discovering what's in that space. And then how many people do you know who actually do that? Not that many, right? So we could be living the lives of the masters because everything they talked about was human nature and is in every one of us. But we do, mostly we live in interaction in the world of change, reacting to whatever's coming at us. And nowhere do we create a safe space where we can just leave that outside and go inside and discover that in the core of our being is an unconditional, infinite, all-encompassing peace that is our universal essence, but is also the essence of the entire universe. That's what it comes out of. It's also called awareness. And within that awareness, life energy, which is a fraction of solar energy, is unconditional, empowering love for the body. So here you are, you're born in peace as love, and then that shines into the world as inspired purpose. And when you live like that, your life is really simple. You're loved, you're enough, you're whole, there's nothing missing. You can go there anytime you want because it's always there when you go there. And it makes you less dependent on a lot of stuff that we really don't need, that we think we depend on. And then you have a freedom that's really good for health. This is probably the most important biohack, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I got into science. I ended up in physics and chemistry and math, and those were boring. So I ended up in biological sciences. I wanted to know what life is. So I ended up in biology, biological sciences, physiology, biochemistry, all that stuff. Then I got into psychology because I wanted to know what life is. Now I wanted to know what soul is, but psychology means study of soul. Well, we didn't study life in biology. We studied form and function. We never got a handle on life. In psychology, we studied beliefs, thoughts, emotions, didn't study soul. Then I got into medicine. I wanted to know what health is because they call it healthcare. And I was a naive farm boy. I said, well, if they call it healthcare, then in medicine you learn about health. First year, no health. And I talked to the dean and I said, so what is health? I came here to study health. He said, we don't know. We're working on it. That was probably the most disappointing answer I ever got in anything in university. And then we were told that a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't. And we call that lying on the farm. But they called it PR. Experts are supposed to have answers, right?
Right.
That ended my medical career.
Okay.
I said I wasn't going to make my living by lying to people. I was 1964, so I was 22 years old, right? So I went back into biochemistry and genetics because I realized in biology, I was learning more about health than I was ever going to learn in medicine. So I graduated, and then I did a couple of years post-grad studies in biochemistry and genetics. So I had a pretty good background. And then I left because this thing I was looking for, life and all of that was still missing. It wasn't in any of my courses. And I went into the arts and sociology and social psychology and anthropology and had a little theology. And like I sat in on classes, and it wasn't anywhere at the university what I was looking for. And my heart ached all the time. And I was trying to figure out, there's something. I don't know what it is. I know I'll recognize it when I find it, but I don't know what it is. I had then I got into psychedelics. That kind of melted my war baby personality door off. I'm lying on the floor, rolling on the floor, laughing and crying at the same time. And it struck me as the funniest thing I'd ever come across, that what I was so studiously looking for in the world is already within me. And I'm looking out there for what I've already got. It struck me as the funniest thing. I was trying to figure out what was the essence of the teaching of the masters. And what did they feel that made them be able to live like they did and talk like they did and do what they did? And it seemed to me that that'd be kind of cool. I want to have that experience. I don't want to be the master. I don't care about all that stuff, the title and all of that stuff. But I want to know what they felt, because their life was kind of like poetry. It was inspiring. It was kind of cool. I want to have that feeling. So I hitchhiked into nature. That's where I used to go to clear my head. And in the middle of this night, this being showed up. I never said anything. Wasn't a label on it. Didn't tell me, hi, I'm Jesus, or hi, I'm Buddha, or hi, I'm nothing, right? Just embodied a message. And I could put words to that embodiment. And the words are, I am come not to judge, but to love. I don't know if I have never seen a better summary of the message of the Master than that. Right? I am come not to judge, but to love. So from that one experience, I got a lot of insight, huge amount of insight. And then it became a memory. And I said, I want to stay in that experience. And that question took me to a kid who was 14 at the time, who said, the peace you search for in the world, and that was a big deal for me because I was the war baby, right? The peace you search for in the world is within you. And I can show you how to connect to it. And so then I started doing the stillness practice. We talked by saying, you got to sit down, get quiet, focus within the space your body occupies, discover what's there. So stillness practice, I've been doing that now for 52 years. This year it'll be 53 years. And then how did I get into fats and all of that kind of stuff?
How does that lead you to healthy fats and oils?
Well, I had already started doing that, and then I got married, and we had 3 kids, and my marriage broke up, and I was really upset, and I wanted to kill something, so I took a job as a pesticide sprayer. Because I knew the only reason we make pesticides is to kill things, right?
Yep.
And I sprayed them really carelessly for 3 years, and then I got poisoned by the pesticides.
Yeah, that's okay. So like you mentioned at the top.
And then I went to the doctor and said, what do you have for pesticide poisoning? Nothing. And then I went back into the research literature, because I had the background in biochemistry and genetics, and started looking at everything to do with health. Food and nutrition, or nutrition and health, nutrition and disease. And the idea is your body is made out of food. So if something goes wrong with your body, then all you have to do is raise your standard for food intake, and 98% of your body will have been rebuilt to a higher standard in 1 year. Right? Your body's always turning over, right?
Yeah.
And some parts faster than others. Water goes through your body. Like if you drink the amount of water you're supposed to drink, you will drink more than 10 times your body weight in water every year. So every month, you're literally peeing out your body weight in water. Right. And then with that go toxins. But food is slower, calcium turns over slower, and bone is slower. But every part of your body in 7 years is removed and replaced. So if you raise the standard, the rebuilding happens to a higher standard. So anytime something goes wrong in anything, you could say what you need to do to fix this problem is raise the standard, whether it's a business issue or whether it's whatever it is. And I got into all of that, and I was looking at essential nutrients. These are nutrients that you gotta have to live and be healthy. You can't make them from anything else in your body, and therefore you have to bring them in from outside. So plants can make them. So what's essential for you is not essential for plants, because they can make it, right? If you don't get enough of any essential nutrient, you cannot stay healthy. Your health will deteriorate. You will get deficiency symptoms that are degenerative in nature, which just means your body's falling apart. And they will get worse with time. And if you don't get long enough of any essential nutrient, you die. So this is the most important stuff that we need to bring in. Third part is if you're going down because you're not getting enough of an essential nutrient, but before you die, because death by definition is not reversible, so before you die, you bring enough into your body, then all the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed. Because life knows how to build a body that works, provided you take responsibility at your mouth to make sure that the essential building blocks that life needs to make your body land in it so life can use them. And that applies to 18 minerals, 13 vitamins, 9 essential amino acids from protein, and 2 essential fatty acids from oils. Right? Now, one more thing, you can't call a nutrient essential, according to the researchers, until they have identified at least one vital biochemical interaction in the body that requires that nutrient, and without which that vital biochemical reaction in the body cannot take place. So I'm reading this thing, and it says omega-6 is an essential nutrient. Omega-6, linoleic acid, is an essential nutrient by the definition I just gave you. That's why I gave you the definition. So I'm reading this thing, okay, I get it. And the very next study I read says omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, huh? What?
Yeah.
I have to take it so it can kill me?
Right, like the pesticides.
There's something that, and it was like, and I didn't assume that they were cheating in the research. I was assuming that they did research, and they did research like a scientist is supposed to do research without bias, and this is just what they found. So I said, well, you can't have it both ways. It's essential for health, or it gives you cancer and kills you. And I said, I must be missing something. There must be something going on that makes this incompatible, that would make sense if I knew it. That would make sense of why you get one and the other. And it was that contradiction that drove me nuts, got me to look deeper into how oils are made. And what I found out is that in order to get a long shelf life on the nutrients that by nature are the most sensitive to damage, light, by oxygen, by heat, the essential fatty acids, omega-6, and then omega-3 is 5 times more sensitive to damage than omega-6. These are the nutrients that need the most care, and we don't give them that care. In fact, we throw them in frying pans. Mm-hmm. And when you fry foods, you burn them, and carbs that you burn, and proteins that you burn, and oils that you burn, all three of them increase inflammation and the risk of cancer, independent of the other two. So we're literally doing that to ourselves. Okay? Now, when they make the oils, when industry makes the oil, they want a long shelf life, because then they can make it in Vancouver, where I live, and they can sell it where you live. You're in Los Angeles. Yeah. And they can also sell it in Tokyo and in Johannesburg and in Berlin and in Moscow and in Shanghai. Everywhere, and in Sydney, Australia, right? Yeah. And in Argentina, right? So if you have a long shelf life, which is like a 2-year, 3-year shelf life, then you have a huge market. So you can make it in one place and you can literally supply the world. So they figured out these sensitive nutrients that need the most care because they're damaged by oxygen and heat. If they treat them with sodium hydroxide, very corrosive base, then with phosphoric acid, a very corrosive acid, then with bleaching clays to take the light molecules out, the colored molecule out, because they absorb light and that damages the oil. So they take those out. And then the oil's rancid and smells bad. And now they have to heat it to frying temperature for 30 minutes to deodorize or de-stinkerize the oil. And then they have a colorless, odorless, tasteless oil. That's what most of the oils are. They put them in plastic bottles. The plastic swells when you put oil in it, and plastic leaches into oil quicker than into water. They have pesticides in the oil, because when they deodorize the oil, that gets rid of half the pesticides, but the other half stays in the oil. And I didn't know all of this stuff. I found it out like slowly, right, asking questions. And then you have this colorless, odorless, tasteless oil. It is about 0.5 to 1% damaged. So I called the Oil Chemist Society, the umbrella organization for the industry, and said, I want to talk to one of your researchers because I wanted to ask some technical questions. So they put him on the line. I said, so you know that this process you use damages the oil. Why do you use a process like that when you know it damages the oil? And so his answer was, well, one of the reasons we do that is because we can get rid of half the pesticides in the oil. And at that time, I was new to this. They never told us that when I studied fats in university, they didn't talk about pesticides in oils. So I'm saying, it's like, what do you mean? Pesticides? There are pesticides in oils? I didn't even know, right? Mm-hmm. And then in my head, I'm saying, well, this is not cool. I got poisoned by pesticide. This is not a good answer for me. But I said to him, why don't you use organically grown seeds? Then you don't have that problem to begin with. And he had no answer. There was this long silence at the other end of the phone. So I waited. And then when he got back to me, he was so ticked. He said, I don't know what your problem is. The oil is 99% good. It's only 1% damaged. And if you got 99% on an exam, you'd be damn happy, wouldn't you? So now I'm backing off because I say, well, 1%, maybe I'm overreacting. 1%, 99% good, right? So I said, okay, well, when in doubt, do the math. So I decided to ask the question, if I have a tablespoon of an oil that is 1% damaged by the processing, how many damaged molecules am I going to introduce to my body if I eat that tablespoon? So I'm going to ask you to guess how many damaged molecules will there be in a tablespoon of oil that is 1% damaged by the industrial processing?
100?
100. So 100 has 2 zeros on it, right? Okay. Your answer is 17 zeros too short and has a 6 in front of it. 60 quintillion damaged molecules. It's a 6 followed by 19 zeros. And the point of all of this is we're doing something to ourselves that seems so innocuous, but is like millions or billions of times worse for us than we think it is. And should we rethink how we use oils and what kind of oils we use? So when I figured out all this stuff out, found that out, I said, I can't get healthy on oils like that. I've been poisoned by pesticides. I can't get healthy on oils like this. I'm trying to get healthy. We should make oils with health in mind. And I'm just farm boy enough and crazy enough that I said, I'm going to do it. And so I developed a method for making oils with health in mind. And all it takes is you have to protect the oil that's in the seed where it's well protected by nature, by the packaging, right? And while it's being pressed and filtered and settled and filled, no light, no oxygen, and no high temperature gets to the oil. Then you have an oil made with health in mind. That means you have to make really, really tight machinery, because light and oxygen go everywhere. So it has to be so tight that can't happen. So we built that. If we could make it with health in mind and we could bring it into the population, oh my God, we could help almost everybody. And that was like, mission from God, right? Yeah, doing good. I'm coming out of a war, making things better. It's like I'm obsessed with it, right? And, oh my God, there's something here that I can help almost everybody if I can do it, if I can pull it off, right? So put a blend together that has 9 ingredients in it. The ratio is between omega-3 and 6s 2 to 1, not like 4 to 1 like flax. And so then since 1994, I've been working with the blend that you can't become omega-6 deficient on and has enough omega-6s made with health in mind, so that I can say to people, get off of those oils that have 60 quintillion damaged molecules in a tablespoon and get on omega-6s made with health in mind. I wrote a book in 1993 called Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. And the title tells you the story. There are 2 stories on fats. Mm-hmm. And you need to know which ones heal and which ones kill. You need to exclude the ones that kill and you need to bring in the ones that heal. Right? And then And then the book goes into what they are and how it works and all of that.
For someone listening that's like, okay, like you're saying, there's a lot of conflicting advice. Omega-6 is this and that, and O3s. How does someone understand, right? Like incorporating these healthier oils, what sort of long-term benefits can someone look at and expect that impact to take place?
Well, okay, given that omega-3 is the single most widespread essential nutrient deficiency, so if you're not getting enough for optimum health, there are going to be lots of symptoms because every cell requires them to make hormone-like regulating molecules. They're called eicosanoids or prostaglandins, prostacyclins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes. And they regulate everything going on in your cells on a moment-to-moment basis, 24/7, lifelong. Super important. And they hold more benefits than any other part of nutrition. More damage comes from damaged oils than any other part of nutrition. More health benefits come from making the oil change that your body needs from the damaged oils to oils that are made with health in mind. And then these oils made with health in mind never get used for frying, because frying, the more sensitive they are, and these are the most sensitive ones, the more sensitive they are, the more they're damaged by frying. And frying is the dumbest thing we've ever invented to do to our food from a perspective of health, right? So I say to people, you got a frying pan in your house? Everybody does. Go get your frying pan, pull it out, turn it upside down, bonk yourself upside the head with it, and then throw that stupid thing out.
Right.
And so how do you use oils made with health in mind? If you're going to cook in water, add the oils after the food comes off the heat. It's better if you eat more raw than cooked. Mm-hmm. If it's not contaminated, the nature, if you look at nature's mandate for every creature that eats, fresh, whole, raw, organic, local, in season, mostly. And then for humans, more plant-based than animal-based. So that's the standard, right? That's nature's standard. You want to biohack? Yeah, get back in line with nature.
What plants specifically are you an advocate for when it comes to general health?
Flax is the richest, easily available source of omega-3, which is the most widespread essential nutrient deficiency. So flax has got to be there, right? And whether you use flax and grind it up, or whether you use the oil if it's made with health in mind, there's a choice there. I can't get enough oil from just eating seeds and nuts to make my skin soft and smooth. That's how we measure optimum intake, because your skin gets them last and loses them first, because your inner organs get priority because they have major vital functions. You can live with dry skin. You can't live with if your heart dried out or your liver dried out. So they get priority. So when your skin is soft and velvety, you know that you've optimized your intake. So I can't do that with seeds alone. So I need oil. Every day I use the oil, by the way. And I know right now there's everybody saying, oh, don't use omega-6s and don't use seed oils. And, they're all, and, not a single person, like I've been doing this for over 40 years, not a single person who's written a book like that, and there have probably been about 10 of them, maybe even more, about not using seed oils, not using omega-6s, and that they're toxic and all. Not a single person who's written any of those books has ever talked to me, and I have not been hiding.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
And if they did talk to me, I would tell them what I'm telling you. If you damage the oils, they should be blaming the damage done by processing or by food preparation. They should not be blaming the oil. Omega-6 is an essential nutrient that you can't make, gotta die if you don't get enough long enough. And it, along with omega-3, has vital functions in every cell in your body. So cutting out the omega-6s is actually a path to what is, shortevity, not longevity, but shortevity.
Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Uh-huh. What was the pushback, though, when you started 40 years ago and developing flax oil? What was the reaction years back, decades back, when you're telling people about this product and why flax oil is good for you?
Well, we were active in the health food trade.
Okay.
So it was already an alternative universe, right? I don't remember ever thinking about any of that stuff as challenges because I was so on fire for how many people we could help. That's what drove that thing. We were so enthusiastic, and then people came and they wanted to work with us because we created a buzz. You know, we took a tour in 1988, another guy and me, in a van without air conditioning through the United States in the hottest months, July, August, half of June, half of September, 101 days, 85 cities, 35 states, 17,000 miles by road. And we talked to anybody who would listen to us, and we were on fire. So I was talking about like the potential of oils made with health in mind. And I don't remember getting any feedback or any pushback, because everybody wanted to work with us, because enthusiasm is infective, right? You know, and if you're bummed out and you're all negative and you're having all these negative thoughts, and then somebody comes along and he's like higher than a kite, you know, and after a while you listen to that and it kind of like gets you off too, right? So mostly that happened, but the FDA stopped us at the border because we were making it in Canada, and at the border they have 100% jurisdiction, so they can say, no, we don't want that in the US, but they don't have to have any reason for it. So then what we did is, over Thanksgiving, while everybody in America was eating turkey, we moved the factory from Canada to the United States, because then we made the oil in the United States, and then in order to stop us, they would have to take us to court.
Okay, smart.
And I had a chance to talk to one of the FDA commissioners like about probably 10 or 15 years later. And I said to him, why didn't you guys shut us down? Because there was always that threat. And he said, well, we wanted to, and we tried, but you guys had put a 3-month shelf life on the oil, and it was never rancid in the time that, you know, by what you had put on it. So we were pretty fastidious. We knew, you know, then the other thing was they called it an unsafe food additive. Mm. And they put it in their register. The FDA puts out a register every month or whatever. I was saying, on the basis of what I knew, no, this is something made with health in mind. This is really good for you. And usually what happens is the FDA comes out with some criticism. Then a health food store calls their friend in another health food store, tells them, and they tell somebody, he tells somebody, in 2 days the FDA's job is done. Mm. Because all the health food store owners told each other.
Yeah, word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah, and so what we decided to is, look, they have a job to do. We're not going to argue with their job. So they have a job to do. They can do their job, and we have a job to do when we will do our job. We never told a single person that flax oil was an unsafe food additive. We said, no, this is flax made with health in mind. They had linseed oil is what was the unsafe food additive. Yeah, that was treated with sodium hydroxide, phosphoric acid, bleached, and then heated to frying temperature. And so they called that an unsafe food additive, although they allowed it to be in the health food trade. So linseed oil that was damaged was being sold there. And we said, let's call it flaxseed oil to make a distinction between stuff made with health in mind and the stuff that is good for paint. Mm-hmm. And that stuck. That's why it's now called flaxseed oil. Same seed that it comes from, but the process is different, right? And so we just talked about the benefits of flaxseed oil. When people take omega-3s after not getting enough, their energy level goes up, their brain function goes up, their mood gets better. If they're athletic, their performance increases. We measured on a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight, athletes within 30 days of starting improve their performance to exhaustion in their sport by 40 to 60%. Wow. There's no training program that gets you that kind of benefit. So people were getting results. Their skin became nicer. Sometimes they had improvements in their vision. Some people with gray hair, their color came back. You know, those weren't, that was not as often. Obviously, mine has not come back. But at 83, I'm proud of it. At 83, I'm proud of it. Yeah. But there were so many benefits, noticeable benefits, that got around. So a lot of people got benefits and told other people about it. So I don't remember ever, and of course, sometimes when it's when you're in love, you don't see the problems.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in full of enthusiasm, you don't see the challenges as problems. It was like we were unstoppable. That's enthusiasm is like that. If you get that enthusiastic about having 8 billion people live by that masterful health, if you have that kind of enthusiasm, you don't need a lot of people to to take that around the world.
Right. So how about you personally? What does a day of eating look like for you?
Well, it's changed. When I was a kid, we lived on a farm without electricity. We had a huge garden, but we couldn't keep meat because meat required refrigeration. So my father had a quarter of beef in town. We were 15 miles out of town. Once a week, he would go into town, get a hunk of meat. So we'd have a little bit of meat on the weekend, and we had tons of vegetables, right? And we worked really hard. We cleared 40 acres by hand and by horse, no chainsaw, no tractor, no nothing. It was like, he called it, my dad called it, this is character building. And that's why I'm such a character, right?
That's pretty
Yeah,
accurate.
so we worked hard. We were in good shape. We ate a lot of carbs, potatoes and oats for breakfast, potatoes, bread. So we ate a lot of that, but lots of vegetables. We had a huge vegetable garden. When I came to town to go to university, I ate the same garbage everybody else did. I drank coffee every day because everybody did. And I could trace the coffee going down my intestine because it was irritating to me. That changed when I started taking probiotics. Now coffee is not a problem. As I've gotten older, I basically eat mostly plant-based now, mostly raw, mostly organic. And, occasionally I'll drink tea and, matcha tea and stuff like that. But I like my raw food. What I do is I get tahini. You know what tahini is? Sesame. It's kind of like peanut butter, but it's made out of sesame. So I get that by the case. It's in glass. I like that. It's organic. And I let it sit so the oil goes to the top because it's lighter than the seed, right? I dump that oil out. I put my oil in because my oil is a better oil. Sesame is only omega-6s. Omega-3s are the high energy. It's the highest energy molecule in the body is omega-3. The organ that takes up the most energy, your brain is 2% of your body weight, but 20% of your energy use. Well, a lot of omega-3 and omega-6 derivatives that are high energy molecules for that function, right? So I dump that off. I put my oil in it, and then I put in all kinds of spices. I'm really big on spices. So cayenne and ginger and cumin, cinnamon, clove, black seed, turmeric or curry, amla, which is Indian gooseberry, which is a very high in antioxidants. And then I put in something called triphala, which is quite bitter. That's 3 herbs from India. It's one of the longevity medicines. Bitter seems to be good for longevity. And I put in some neem powder, and I mix it all up. And I love broccoli, so I always have broccoli in the house. So I'll take the broccoli and I'll dip it in that stuff and eat it with that stuff on it. So that's one of the ways I eat it. But I eat, carrots and yams, most of it raw. You don't have to cook the yams. And then I eat seeds and nuts. I use the oil, but I also use seeds and nuts. So what I've got, almonds and pecans and pumpkin seeds, walnuts. Walnuts go rancid fairly quickly, so you have to pay attention. I eat pine nuts, and then I eat oranges and apples and bananas. And that's one thing. The other thing is I only eat 8 hours a day.
Okay, so it's a 6. So you're intermittent fasting.
I start eating at 12 and I quit at 8. And I'm not 100% on that, but when I'm by myself, I pretty much do that all the time. And that makes sense because your digestive system is working all the time. It makes sense to give it some rest. I've never joined a gym because I come off a farm, and it always seemed really strange to me that you should do hard work and not accomplish anything with it other than build your own muscles. right, on the farm. So like, you know, we had big muscles too,
Sure.
but we also got the fence built or plowed the field or turned over the garden, right? So for us, it was, you know, or cut the wood and chop the wood, and we did all that, right? So the idea of exerting yourself without getting a job done, that's like, I know it's crazy, you know, because there's no job like that to do in the city, but you still want to be in shape. So that makes sense to me. But you know, so what I have a mini trampoline, I have ankle weights and hand weights, I have a medicine ball, I have a vibration machine that messes with your muscles without you doing any work. I don't use that too much. And then I do lots of gardening, you know, and I go up ladders and I prune trees. And right now I'm trying to remove this dead tree that has like, it's all gnarly at the bottom. So right now I'm really sore. My glutes are sore. My quadriceps are sore. My shoulders are sore. My triceps are sore because I've been trying to chop and hammer and break this root out of this tree. And it's really hard work. And I'm using muscles in a way I don't use them. I don't usually use them. So I do that, and I take down trees and, you know, pruning and like all kinds of gardening work. One year we have a huge bamboo patch, and you're never supposed to put bamboo in the ground if it's not in a confined space. Well, the people who planted it didn't know that. So it crawled underground like 50 feet into the lawn, right? And that patch was just spreading. It's a really big patch. So I took it upon myself to stop that and pull all of this stuff out of the grass. So I literally had to turn the whole lawn over because the roots just go everywhere. You know, they're just like, so I did that. That took me a whole summer. So I do stuff like that. And it's nice for me because I spend a lot of time on the computer and writing and reading and thinking. So this is like really good exercise for me. And really good balance for, you know, because if there's nothing to do, you don't really need a body, right? The body is for doing physical things, right?
Yeah.
I go for walks and sometimes I go for runs, and, you know, I run around without a shirt most of the summer, and, you know, I'll stick my feet in the water because I live by the salt water, by the ocean. You know, that's a ground. It's the best grounding there is stick your feet in the ocean, right? So I do that, but really important is to take that time in stillness, because that's rejuvenating, that turns on your stem cells, that reverses aging. You know, stillness practice or meditation or self-knowledge or whatever you call that actually reverses aging. And there's good research on that.
You said you've been doing it like 52 years?
I've been doing it for 52, this year, 53 years. And it's basically an hour a day. And there are times, because now I'm less active than I was 20 years ago, you know, sometimes I'll spend 2.5 hours just basically enjoying what it feels like to be alive. And it really is enjoyable. You know, you have sensations in your legs and something, your skin itches, and you just notice all that, right? And there's signs of life, right? Sometimes you have pain. Well, that's a sign of life too. Right? Dead people have no pain. Honestly, here we are. You know, look, what is this? A handful of dust, 3 buckets of water, right? A little bit of air, and a little bit of sunlight, all mixed together in a way that can have the human experience. Well, water can't have that by itself, and air can't have it by itself, and dust can't have it by itself, and solar energy can't have it by itself. But it all gets put together, so I get this gift to be able to enjoy life in human form with all of what that entails, you know, the happy moments and the sad moments. Again, from the point of longevity, if you're depressed, you wreck your immune system and you'll shorten your life. Because why? Because you don't feel like living, right? When you're in joy, you feel the peace, you feel the love, you feel the joy. You know, it's like, wow, that's incredible. And then you start looking around and say, wow, I got a bookshelf. Oh man, there's so much stuff in there. You know, maybe one day I'll get around to reading all of it. Right? Or there's a lamp here that kind of puts a little bit of light on my face because it's darker on this side than on that side, right? Oh, I got a window here that in winter the wind doesn't blow through here, right? You look at the carpet and you look at the. I'm on a computer. I'm talking to a guy who's in California. You know, I didn't have to walk there, right? Oh my God, we invented computers, right? And you look at, oh my God, the cherries are blossoming. It's just like so beautiful when the cherries are blossoming. Sun is shining, you know, grass is growing. Oh, I love the green of the grass. You start looking around when you feel good. So you look at everything. It's like, wow, everything's amazing. I live in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
I live in heaven on earth. And I know it's going to end one day. Body's going to end one day, right? But I'm not inclined to want it to end sooner. I'm inclined to extend it. So I'll do what I need to do to be in line with being here longer. And because I'm excited about it, it's not hard to make the changes I need to make. The reason people don't make the changes, when you're not inspired, everything's too much work. And the less inspired you are, the more work it seems to be, even though it's the same amount of work, no matter what your mood is, right? And so I realized that as important as giving accurate information and making good product, I also got to inspire people. And if I can't inspire people, I should not expect them to put anything I say into practice.
Right.
So then it's not just inform, but it's inform, it's entertain, it's inspire, right? It's educate.
Like Udo's Choice, right? Your product line. How does that sort of complement the principles that you're sort of advocating for people listening and they want to learn more about you, learn more about your products, buy your book? What's the best place to kind of start to kind of dive into everything?
The oil is in the fridge. It's in a brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the supplement section, in the natural food stores.
Okay.
And you can get it on Amazon. I always say, support your locals.
Yes.
Because I don't know how they store it at Amazon, and
Anywhere,
the bigger
right?
the place gets, the less oversight is, and the less care gets taken sometimes. I don't know. I maybe that's not fair. Maybe Bezos is in there every day making sure that my oil is refrigerated.
Well, he is, yeah.
In fact, it's the number one. Make sure Udo's oil is refrigerated. Yeah? It's on his to-do list. Number one on his to-do list. Yeah. So. But I like it, it's local, and then it's in the fridge, and you can see that it's in the fridge. So that's where the oil is. The probiotics are also in the fridge. They don't have my name on them. They used to. They're on a Flora brand. They're age-specific probiotics. That was my second thing I did after oil. And then digestive enzymes, they're also on the shelf. They're not in the fridge. They also don't have my name on them. Digestion is the second most neglected area of nutrition. Oil's number one. Digestion number two. So then we had fiber products. That comes from plants. You don't need a fiber product. Just eat lots of plants. And bitters are good. Certain herbs and spices are really good for all of that. In terms of me, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. And I have a website. It's udoerasmus.com. It's a mess because it's got we're doing a bunch of things, none of which are completely completed. We're just putting a book on there. It's called Your Body Needs an Oil Change.
I like that.
Right? And the idea is your body needs an oil change just like the car. You got to get the dirty oil out and you got to bring the clean oil in.
A great title.
More health problems come from damaged oil than any other part of nutrition. More health benefits come from making the oil change your body needs than any other part of nutrition. So I'm not that hard to find.
No, not at all. So it's UdoErasmus.com is pretty much the landing page where they can find everything else and connect with you through your social channels. And just
my
follow
name
your
is
journey.
My name is strange enough that if you just plug me into Google, I'll show up on the first page.
Oh, there you go.
Udo Erasmus.
The greatest SEO you can get.
Yeah. How cool is that, right? Born SEO.
Oh my God.
Now it's like, oh, thank God I have a name that is impossible.
Right.
Because once you know how to spell it, I'm really easy to find.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to get to meet you, learn from you, learn about you, and just your general love for everything about life. So it's been refreshing to kind of hear that perspective than the negativity we typically hear that's out there 24/7 on social media.
Yeah, because all the good stuff is out there 24/7 too, right?
Yeah, it's there.
Well, why
right under
why
your
is the
nose.
good stuff not getting any attention?
Yeah.
Only the bad stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
What a
Exactly.
stupid,
And,
what a stupid way to live.
I know. Yeah, it's just it's a wasted life if you're not. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay.